Hi. So, have you ever liked something and then made the grave mistake of going to that thing's said Reddit page? Or maybe even just a forum or anything, and then all of a sudden you started questioning whether or not you're insane for liking this thing because seemingly everyone else hates it? Kind of want to talk about that today, so to the tripod. Alright, so yeah, Reddit is a big offender of this, and the internet in general. It's like you get something, you like it, or you discover something, you like it. It could be a podcast, it could be a video game, a book, who knows? And you decide, hey, I like this thing. And then you're like, hey, I wonder what they say on Reddit about this. Or maybe I have a question about something. Let's Google search it. And all of a sudden you come across the Reddit page for said thing. And you start reading through it and you're like, hey, it seems like everybody kind of hates this thing. I wonder why. My camera's too low. I don't know how many times I've gotten a thing and I've enjoyed it. I had a genuine experience with it. I enjoy it, and then I go to the internet, and the internet just ruins it. It completely ruins your enjoyment. Now it's stupid. Some people will be like, "Well, why are you letting the internet ruin it?" But I think this happens to people more than we realize. You'll be playing a game and you'll be, maybe stuck on a thing and you go to Google and you're like, okay, how do I get past this jump? And you start reading and you're like, oh, 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 oh my. And then by the time all of that has sunk into your head, you're like, man, maybe I do hate this thing. Or you feel crazy for liking it when everybody else is hating it. And you're like, am I some normie? Am I some casual person that doesn't know anything? Do I just like mainstream crap? Or like, it makes you like feel crazy. You're like, why do I like this when everybody else hates this? It makes you feel like everyone knows something you don't know. And it makes you feel like you have to keep reading and finding out what they know that you don't know. And by the time you're done, sometimes you've convinced yourself that you don't like it too, just because everyone else doesn't. And you find yourself even quoting shit that other people have said to other. You'll be saying it to someone else, and you'll quote something you read, and then if you think about it, maybe you don't even actually believe the thing that you just said to someone. It's in your head, and now for some reason you feel the need to push that off onto someone else. I find this happening a lot to me. I'll find something, I'll discover something, I like said thing, and I take to the internet because I have like a simple question about this that I want to find out. And then you come across the Reddit for that thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I stupid for liking this? Am I the person that I don't want to be? Am I the person that some people make fun of because they're just like not blindly following something, but you like, am I just some simpleton because I like this thing and there's something about this happening that I don't realize that everybody else does? Ask yourself, how many times have you liked something? You discovered something and you liked it, a band, a game, a book, anything. And then you went to the internet and discovered that everyone else hated it, and then you felt stupid for liking it. Even though you still like it, now you have to convince yourself that maybe you don't like it. Now, not everybody's like that. Some people just, you know what, I don't care what people think, I like this thing, and that's fine. But these days, there's certain things where you're basically made to feel like you're an awful person if you like it. Some examples could be like a game that comes out and maybe there's some not so politically correct stuff in it and you find yourself enjoying it, but then the other side is like, hey, this isn't okay, and if you like this, you're a terrible person. And then you get this conflict in your head that maybe I'm an awful person and I just have to hate this by default. Now, I'm not saying that's the situation every time. That might be a bad example. But it's kind of not a bad example because one side is telling you if you like this, you're an awful person, and then the other side is saying, hey, I should be allowed to like whatever I want. Why does it matter if I'm not hurting anyone? Now that might be a bit much when you're just when it comes down to like, oh, a song. It's like, obviously you're not hurting anyone by liking the song, but there are times where people will have an argument about something, and it's all or nothing. It's either level 9,000 or nothing, and people tend to jump to that a lot. Now I'm going to give you an example of something that just happened to me, and you might watch this and be like, you might not even think that I would watch this podcast, or you might yourself probably think, oh, they fell off, it sucks. But I recently started watching the PKA podcast, and the most recent guest I was just kind of curious about, so I took to the Reddit, and I'm like, holy crap! Everyone that watches this seemingly hates it. And then I'm thinking, why do you guys watch this if you hate it so much? Just about every time somebody posts, it's about how one of the guys are out of touch or they treat the guests badly. Now, maybe those things are true. I don't know, but it wasn't something that I thought of until I read that. None of that was in my head until I read it, and that is now in my head. And it's always going to be in my head. And the more things I might read about it, the more things seep in that might make me eventually dislike it. And I don't know if that's okay with me, because unless those guys have done something incredibly awful, I was enjoying it, and I still enjoy it. But this video isn't about PKA. It's about the experience of liking something and then taking to the internet and being convinced that you don't like it. Now, there are some times where this can happen, and it's a good reason. Like, oh, this person did this. Oh, well, yes, I liked the work they did, but the person is terrible, and then that can influence how you feel about their work. And that I would understand that. If you find out the person is just a terrible human being, that's different. I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about, oh, hey, I like this game. And you go to Reddit and everybody's just trashing it because it's not what they imagined it would be or something. And it's just these silly things that we let get into our heads that warp how we feel, and we start letting other people dictate how we feel, and we stop listening to ourselves. A question I need to ask myself, and I think everyone should ask themselves, is how many times have you let other people influence something you like and changed how you felt about something you like? And you almost felt embarrassed to admit that you liked it. I think it happens a lot, and it's kind of a shame. You know, we only get a chance to live once, and if we have to pretend we like things that we don't, and try to force ourselves to like things that we don't like just because of how people will perceive us, it's kind of a waste. I just want to spend my time enjoying things that I legitimately enjoy and not worry about what anyone has to say about it. Yes, that can be easier said than done, but I think it's something everybody should try to do. You know, when I was young, if I was going to be convinced something was bad, I had to talk to my friends or I had to overhear a conversation because the internet wasn't prominent back then. And if I liked something, I just grew up liking it. And it wasn't until I was older and discovered, things on the internet to tell me that, oh, this thing might have not been this way, or these people were bad, or like, I just grew up liking stuff and I liked what I liked. Hi, future editing me here. I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying that I think it's a bad thing that, like, in the future people have come out against, abuse and stuff like that. That is not what I'm talking about here. That I understand completely, and there's nothing wrong with people coming down the line saying, "Hey, these people here did some messed up stuff." I'm more like talking about, like, oh, this game was rushed, or like just nothing as serious as abuse and stuff like that. When it comes to those situations, that's completely different than what I'm talking about. I didn't have a place to go to instantly, okay, is it okay? Like, here's a great example. I'm in a group on Facebook. It's a gaming group. Somebody just asked the question, so, are we buying Bayonetta 3 or not? Yes. Okay. First, she comes out and says, "Oh well, they lowballed me. It's bad." And then she got into some weird religious stuff, and you just lost me with that. Like, yeah, maybe if that was true, that was a bad deal. I don't know. Maybe even the truth is still a bad deal. I don't know. But, okay, that person felt the need to have the blessing of the group for them to feel like it's okay for them to buy Bayonetta 3. I understand not wanting to support crappy companies, but it is, in a way, though, if you stop supporting every company that's kind of shitty, you kind of can't even buy food or anything. You won't have anything. You got to pick and choose, I guess. But to go to the internet, to ask a group of strangers you don't know, hey, how do we feel about this thing? Is it okay for me to buy it? That's a bit weird, right? Another thing, I know this is kind of off topic, but another thing that bothers me about this, oh, let's not buy this game because this person got screwed over. What about everybody else that worked on that game that didn't have anything to do with that, and the developers that just put how many months or years of their life into this thing, and then somebody's like, oh, hey, boycott this because I got screwed over. Well, what about all the other people that worked on it? Doesn't that screw them over too? Anyway, I got way off topic there. I think we just need to go with what's in our hearts more. Our hearts more. And like what we like. Life is too short to try to please anyone else. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, like what you like, do the things you want to do, and just stop letting the internet dictate what you feel like you should be allowed to do, what you should like, music you should be able to listen to. Just be you. Odds are the people giving you a hard time about liking some song or reading a book or playing a game are miserable people, and they let people tell them what's good and bad too. So I think I'm going to try to listen to my own words here a little bit and practice these things for myself. And I think everyone else should too. And if you are the one person to watch this video, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next one.